Hello, everyone. How are we? Hopefully, all of you are having a fantastic Friday, wherever we are around the world, and welcome back to another episode on the Cop Council. How are we all? Hopefully, everyone's good. Like I said, and welcome back to a bit of a different one tonight. Of course, not a news episode, as what we normally would have at 9 p.m. Of course, we are going to be taking a look at, of course, Trent Alexander-Arnold replacements. Of course, obviously, with the news that has broke this week, of course, it highly now looks likely that Trent will join Real Madrid this summer. Of course, nothing yet confirmed in terms of, again, a deal being confirmed, really. But again, the inevitable is there. I do think there is the question mark of, what Liverpool do in the summer, at the right back position. Of course, who does come in to replace Trent, because I think Liverpool will have to sign now a full back, and again, it is begging the question of, who do they get? Do they get somebody who's a bit more experienced? Do they get somebody of top quality? Or do they end up getting a backup for Conor Bradley? Which, of course, I think that will cause a lot of debate and questions just in itself as well anyway. But, of course, let me know how all of you are in the comments down below. Big up Hero as well, saying evening. Hopefully you are doing well. And, yeah, apologies for being late. Again, didn't realize the time as I was downstairs and thought I had about 5-10 minutes, and nope, I did not. Anyway, but big up. Hopefully everyone's all good and all well. Anyway, but of course we are going to be taking a look at Trent replacements tonight. Of course, get your suggestions in the comments. Of course, we're going to be taking a quick look at a few, and of course, and again, get your opinions in the comments, because again, I think you look at the right back market, I think it is a very rare market at the minute, similar to how, probably in previous seasons where we've looked at maybe the striker market or even the DM market, and you've looked at it and gone, Jesus, it is a very difficult market. But the right back market, especially, I think every, right back that's currently in the top 10 in terms of market value is probably at now a top team, really. I think when you looked at it, or when I looked at it in depth, it is a very much a rare commodity that, again, is any type of fullback available for that. Of course, obviously the number one fullback being obviously Trent in terms of market value, which again is a bit annoying when you look at it, and especially the fact Liverpool are going to lose it for free is a bit annoying as well, of course. And I think a lot that would piss off a lot of people as well anyway. But we'll get on and we'll talk about, of course, the replacement straight away. And realistically, I think, you have to look at home first. Conor Bradley being that guy for Liverpool who, again, when Trent has been absent, has done a really, really good job this season, especially, in previous seasons. Of course, very highly praised, even when, the likes of Jurgen Klopp and Pep Linders had him to their disposal. And of course, they did have a lot of praise for Conor Bradley. And I think, again, that I think will be the interesting point of view for it, of, what do Liverpool really view Conor Bradley as? Do they view him as Liverpool's next big right back, in terms of, again, he's somebody who can push on and somebody who Arne Slot can trust a lot more in that field of view? But I do wonder, again, when you do look at his statistics, again, very, very good and very, very solid. But the big problem is injuries, and that is the main one, of course, where Liverpool have been fortunate enough that we've had, again, the best right back in world football over the years in Trent. And of course, we've had a very, very, very good backup in terms of Conor Bradley. But I think everybody has that same type of opinion of, again, Conor Bradley's good, but is he world class good? And I think that is the real question mark, I think, with Conor Bradley in this Liverpool team, of, can he take the next step up? And plus, can he really, sustain a full season? Because so far, based on evidence, he hasn't been able to do that, because, again, he's had little injuries, or he's had very big ones. I think, again, he's had like one or two really big ones over the years, but still, that's something that needs to be asked upon as well anyway. But even when you do look at his stats now, we're going to take a look, an in-depth look, of course, on FB Ref, so you guys can see on screen right now. Of course, he's very much in the green for a lot of it, as you guys can see on screen right now, as you can see me. There we go. But as you can see on screen, and I will make that bigger for you guys. Let me take me off screen. But even when you look at it and look at the stats again, you look at pretty much the greens that he's in. Non-penalty goals, top 88% for a fullback, 92 percentile for total shots as a fullback. But I think this is the most important one when we talk about creativity. For Liverpool, of course, we missed that really in the Carabao Cup final. But again, it's more the progression at the right-hand side. I think that is the big one, almost 4.5 carries, per 90, 83 pass accuracy, pass attempted nearly 65 per 90 as well. And again, defensively, I feel like Conor Bradley is very much a well-rounded full-back, really, where, again, he's good at everything, but again, is he excelling in one area? Probably not, I would say. But again, in terms of being that force down the right, kind of like how Liverpool was, potentially when Trent first broke through the team, when it was more of a wing back, instead of somebody who would sit in and of course take in really and kind of be that, that David Beckham-esque, or that, that somebody who can play the final ball. But I do think more of kind of when you look at the system and the way, you'd think we're going to play, I do think maybe even on the left-hand side, I think everybody's spoken about Milos Kerkez being the guy to come in for Liverpool. But I do look at it and kind of think, again, can Liverpool, balance Kerkez and Conor Bradley? I don't think we can, again, just based on the feeling, and again, just thinking of the system. Again, obviously we've had Trent invert in, or we've had Robbo, come in as the three, Trent invert in to have that man at the, that man in the midfield. But we've also had, again, Trent overloading on the right hand side, which will cause obviously a lot of danger. Again, we've had that though with Conor Bradley. Conor Bradley can invert, he can overlap as well. He does that very, very well. But again, it's not quite Trent, is it? And that's something, again, that there is no one else out there that can replicate really what Trent can bring from right back. But it's also that sense of, is a Liverpool going to be planning for that? Are Liverpool going to be trying to replicate that, or are they going to try and do something else? Which I think will be very, very interesting over the next couple of weeks, that we might find out a bit more on who Liverpool are going to go for. But big up Carl, so saying hello, Con, the Welsh Iniesta, the Welsh Xavi. Anyway, but big up Hero saying it's so sad we don't get a penny for Trent. Yeah, absolutely. I think based on market value, I think he's up to 75 million. Which when you look at it, it's rough, the fact that Liverpool are not going to get a single penny for him. Well, I say this, I think Liverpool will get something for him, because obviously Madrid won him for the Club World Cup. Supposedly it's meant to be around 5 million that's been spoken about. Yeah, like even that, it's a kick in the teeth, really, isn't it? The fact that we're going to lose one of our best players for 5 million, it's rough, really, isn't it? But like, obviously with the news that's coming out surrounding Trent, I have my own opinions about him. Anyway, but look, that's just my personal opinion, of course. Anyway, but do you think he ever held back in any games this season, just not to get injured? I don't think so. Like never went 100%. I don't think so personally. I don't think Trent's that type of character, but then also saying that, I didn't think, that with certain things that's come out this week, I didn't think that of Trent either. So you never know, really. I don't think so personally, but I think if you rewatch, what the news has come out concerning Trent, and obviously if you go back and watch the injury against PSG, I think that was a moment of realization of, yeah, that's my last game for Liverpool ever, because I don't think Trent will play again this season personally. It'll be very interesting to know on Tuesday with Arne Slot's press conference whether or not Conor Bradley's back. I'm hoping he's back, because we really need him. But yeah, I'm not too sure. Of course, the main thing now is keeping Conor Bradley fit, because like we'll have a game every week, once every week now, instead of, again, 3 games per week. Really, with us not being the Champions League or the FA Cup, but even still, like, again, keeping Conor Bradley fit now until the rest of the season is huge for Liverpool. And again, I wouldn't be too surprised, maybe now, because we'll have more training time, whether or not Arne Slot might use other alternatives at right back, potentially. Again, I wouldn't be too surprised if Dom played at right back, really. You look at Valverde, who's been playing at right back for Madrid. They've kind of changed this system, really, for that. And I wonder whether or not we would do it with Dom. Because, again, I know obviously the running power in midfield is a huge factor of how we play, but it's also that sense of, for me personally, I would much rather see Dom Szoboszlai or Curtis Jones even playing a right back than Joel Konza. There is no creativity there. Where, again, Curtis Jones has played at right back. I think he's even played at right back for us, wasn't it, last season in the Carabao Cup. But even Dom, I think Dom could do a job there. But it's also that sense of, again, you're taking away from the midfield, and can you really replace for that? You could, Harvey, maybe for a game. Of course, we're going to do a news episode tomorrow about Harvey, because, again, of course, there's been news around him. But even still, like, I think it's an interesting one, right back for sure. But you remember our second game of the season when he was subbed, and Slot whispered something as he was sat down and looked upset. Well, the thing is, Slot was right with what he did, at the start of the season, and maybe that has affected Trent's decision to not sign a new contract, because Slot's very much a tactician, isn't he? He knows what he wants from a player. He wants somebody who can be reliable, can be fit as well. Let's be honest, because you look at our rotation this season, Liverpool, I think in Europe, are one of the teams that are low down in terms of rotation, in terms of players, as well, which, again, that might change maybe next season when Arne Slot has more of his type of players, potentially. But I do think it's more so as well, he trusts a certain type of player as well. Like, our midfield is set in stone, really, isn't it? I think maybe one change. I think you've got maybe Curtis potentially for either a Maka or Dom, but all throughout the season, our midfield has been the same. Our back four mainly has been the same, but we've also changed when we need to. It's no, this season we haven't risked anyone, I would say. Like, we've been very, very smart. Like, again, our rotation is a bit poor in terms of starters, but I do think once it gets to a certain point, we will change things around, and that's been very, evident, evidently this season, where Trent will come off after 65 minutes, where he might have played a full 90 under Jurgen Klopp and under the old regime. That's not been the case this season. We've brought Conor Bradley on, or we've brought somebody else on to play the last half an hour, and that's been the case for the entirety of the season. And look, that for me, a manager who's smart, because now, all right, we're out of all the competitions, and apart from obviously, Liverpool are going to plan to go on and win the Premier League. But that's the thing, like, Liverpool taking players off now and again has benefited us now for the long term, where now we're at the final stretch of the season, and we're probably a lot fresher than what we was last season, where we did drop off. Like, again, we've had kind of a performance drop off, I'd say, before the international break. But now I think, Merseyside derby coming up, the energy levels will be up. We're not playing on the weekend. Like, it is now just a sprint to the end, and hopefully Liverpool are, within that, and obviously, bounce on as well. But did he say you are going to leave all this as well? But I'm not too sure. Do you think Trent's greatness will be realized at Madrid? No. No. Like, me being honest, no. I think Trent will in his first year will get battered quite a lot in the Champions League, especially, I would say. Big up Darren as well. Hope you're doing well, mate. Saying Nico Williams back from Forest. Contract finishes in 2026 or not. A big enough signing. Could be. He's not in my list. I was looking at it. To be fair, I've only got 4 people in the list really. That might be good because again, I think for Liverpool, again with Forest, how much would they want? Even though I know it's 2026, you're probably looking at what 30-40 million probably from Forest. But it's a good shout, to be fair. And a very good player. Nico Williams is a very, very good player. But now he's playing more of a left-back position, I would say, for Forest. From what I've seen of them anyway, I'm not too sure. Again, let me know, Darren. But for me, when I've watched Forest this season, he's been playing a big part on the left for them as well. But he's had a really, really good season with Forest anyway. But of course, moving on, and of course, I'm going to talk about the obvious one that's obviously there first, and that's obviously Jeremy Frimpong. Obviously, a lot of conversations going around at the minute with him. Of course, Liverpool journalists coming out and saying there's not really anything towards that. Of course, I believe was it Bild said that there had been contact between Arne Slot and Jeremy Frimpong concerning him. For me, and I've said this for a while, I don't think Jeremy Frimpong is a Liverpool. I don't think he's a Liverpool fullback, really. And what we would want from him, and again, me saying that, mind, he is a very good fullback. Don't get me wrong. Of course, he is. I'd say more of a right winger, isn't he? Really, when we do look at it. But again, 24 years of age. Again, obviously Dutch international, which goes to a good thing, really. Obviously, we'll have Gravenberch, Virgil, and Cody here. Obviously, the manager being Dutch as well. But again, market value 50 million euros. Of course, we do realize that there is a 33 million release clause there as well, which again will benefit really in terms of again the player really and get that deal done if Liverpool wanted to go for it as well. But looking at it now, 40 appearances this season, 4 goals and 11 assists, which is pretty decent, to be fair, when you look at it. But considering that, mind, he has played the majority of the season as a right winger or right midfielder really, which probably Liverpool back a few years ago might have worked, to be fair. But in terms of fullback, it's a really, really long day when you look at it. And even when you look at the statistics, and I'll get them up on screen right now for you in a moment. But for me, it would be a very, very weird signing if Liverpool got Jeremy Frimpong, in my personal opinion, anyway. But Hero says, I think he's been holding back and it will be amazing at Madrid. At the same time, I think we can upgrade since he doesn't seem 100% with us. Yeah, could be. Absolutely 100%. Aina has to be signed up. Of course, he is on a free transfer, isn't he? Can attack and defend as well. Well, would be perfect, really, wouldn't it? A free transfer, really, for us instead of one leaving. I'm not going to lie, though. I think Aina will go to Barcelona. I said that a couple of weeks back. It just sounds right, doesn't it? Really. But when you do look at the stats for Jeremy Frimpong, I'm going to get him up for you right now. So when we look at this, now this is from a full-back position. Of course, we quickly shifted over. Of course, that is statistics for a winger really, or an attacking midfielder. But when you look at full-back, yes, the attacking side of things, amazing. Like again, he's in the top 90 percentiles for everything, really, isn't he? Again, assists, total shots, expected goals and assists, shot creating actions as well, obviously top 84% in that. Again, you can tell that just from this. But then you look at everything else and you're like, all right, progressive carries, sure. Like Connor Bradley was very, very good and very solid. And then you get the defensive numbers, which, yeah, it isn't really great, is it? When you look at it, I think, again, when you compare it, and we will compare Connor Bradley with Jeremy Frimpong, when you look at it, it's not great at all, is it? And this is at fullback as well. And even still, when you look at that, again, obviously Connor Bradley more well-rounded. Of course, obviously Frimpong obviously does outdo Connor Bradley in the attacking numbers, but even still, again, pass attempted, pass completion, again, non-existent from Jeremy Frimpong. And even still, like when you do go down to the nitty-gritties of it, again, I think as Cal said, but they can attack and defend. Oh, that's for Aina, sorry, as well. But even still, when you look at Frimpong, like that is a bad, really bad going, really, when you do look at it. I think, to be fair, it is something that Liverpool, look, I think if Liverpool played a back five or back three, then yeah, 100%, I think it would make a lot of sense to sign Jeremy Frimpong. I think, somebody like City, for example, who do shift into a back three, that could work for him. I think as well, even, United, for example, with a 3-4-3, I think that would also work. But I think for Liverpool, I don't think it would work at all, personally. Again, I could be wrong. And of course, the data team may look at it and go, oh, that would help Liverpool in terms of creativity. But I do look at it and go, yeah, there's no chance on this world that Liverpool would even, entertain that type of player, really, which, again, that's just my opinion. But I would be very, very, very surprised if Liverpool did do that type of deal anyway. But again, we could be shocked. We could end up seeing something that would happen. But again, we'd have to wait and see, wouldn't we? Really, to understand whether or not Liverpool would, of course, do that type of deal for somebody anyway. But again, let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comments down below anyway. But what else do we have anyway? But Cal saying, heard Trent signed Madrid shirt. Well, Trent can sign his pension, pension when he gets his legs broken. Jesus Christ. I don't think he'd be doing that, but yeah, I know what you mean. No, it was an old photo. I did see that yesterday, but yeah, it was an old, very old photo. The Trent did that. I think he did it back in the summer as well, to be fair. Anyway, but moving on, we're going to talk about a player that a lot of Liverpool fans have been talking about in terms of Martin Fernandes. Of course, Porto international, then Portuguese international. Again, 19 years of age, market value around 8 million euros. And again, looking at it, we could 100%, see this, of course, like in terms of when we talk about backups for Connor Bradley, it could absolutely be the case. I do think it is an interesting one. I think when you do look at, you look at the player, and of course, I'm not going to sit here and go, oh yeah, no, I watch him week in, week out. Of course not. I do think he's a very good talent when I've seen, of course, highlights of him, but I'm not going to turn around and say, oh yeah, like I've seen snippets of him being absolutely amazing for Porto, because I haven't really. But when we do compare him, and I'm going to quickly switch over to Data MB for you guys in a moment, but I think when you compare him to Trent and Connor Bradley, again, you can understand really why Liverpool might want to go for him. But again, I do think it's one of those signings that, again, Portuguese league, it could work out, because again, you've seen Portuguese league signings work for other clubs. But I think for Liverpool, I think it would be very interesting. And again, judging from reports in Portugal, again, his passing range is very, very good as well, and very unique, which again, we kind of know with of course, Trent Alexander-Arnold, which again, that would be again something that we'd hopefully see with another player anyway. But hang on a minute, chat. Let me quickly. Why is he not coming up? But I'll quickly look at that in a minute. Anyway, but even when we do compare him with Trent as well, we'll quickly get it for you guys right now. There we go. Let me click this and then go to that. So when we do compare him to Trent alone, as you can see the list I'm trying to get up, but if you do compare him towards Trent, as well, as we can see on this screen right now. And of course, I am comparing the Portuguese league with, of course, the Premier League. When you do look at it and do look at the statistics, I will quickly take my face away from it anyway. But when you do look at it again, of course, aerial duels he's high up on, carrying, quite similar to Trent, really, in terms of that numbers. Expected assists is up, in terms of, again, what is expected. Assists are. Crossing is very high compared, obviously way higher compared to Trent. Progressive passes not so much. And it goes defensive actions for Porto. You'd expect that, really, for the Portuguese league. But again, defensive duels is up there as well. So when you do look at it, very comparable to Trent, but of course, obviously the minutes, of course, is a lot different because, of course, look, at the end of the day, it is once again the Portuguese league, and I wonder whether or not, again, Liverpool might go for it, especially when, again, what is it? Like I said, 8 million euros. Again, that's an absolute steal, really. That Liverpool could go for, and I do think it is an interesting one that we should probably look for as well. But I'd be very, very surprised to see whether or not Liverpool would go for it. I think why not? Again, you look at you look at somebody like a João Cancelo, for example. Obviously played for. Did he play for Benfica? Again, I don't think he played for Porto, but he played for, again, Benfica. He proved it for a while in the Premier League as well. And if Liverpool can bring him in and mold him, really, to be the next, the next best right back, while having, Conor Bradley there, that might be an option Liverpool might go for, really. But I do think that's an interesting one, really. But again, let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comments as well. But Hawklord, hopefully doing well, mate. Saying 20 million seems a cheap price for him, ain't it though? As well, yeah, could do. Keanu Hoover actually was the one who took that corner. Yeah, absolutely. Against Barca. Hero says, I want every player to be speed merchants with short passes as well. Yeah, just get what's his name, Hakimi from PSG. Anyway, but big up Ozan as well. Hope you're doing well, mate, as well. But I do think, in terms of the people that's on obviously this list that we've got, I do think, I'd say out of them all, I think he's probably the one that is the most likeliest to come in, because I think it's just the price point, really. Because again, £8 million, if he comes in, it could work well for Liverpool. Of course, we've kind of been fortunate enough to have Conor Bradley, be at the club as well. Like, again, like, you look at Liverpool's options, or in the past few years while Trent's been at the club, we've had Nico Williams, who again has had a really good season, a couple of seasons for Forest, and then of course we've had Calvin Ramsey as well, who didn't work out. Obviously, injuries has massively impacted him as well. And I think Liverpool, again, they did really, really well in terms of getting Conor Bradley that move to Bolton, which really projected him very, very well. I think if you speak to any Bolton fan, they'd easily take Conor Bradley back in that aspect of things, because he was amazing for them. But I think that's something where Liverpool, that's what I personally think Liverpool are going to do. They're going to promote Conor Bradley to be the right back for Liverpool, and then have a backup towards him. And is that going to be Martin Fernandes? I think, yeah, it could be 100%, because again, he fits the criteria of what Liverpool probably want in a fullback as well. And I don't think Liverpool are going to be looking for somebody who is flashy, but still somebody who can defend very well, and also be somebody who's good on the ball, obviously, but not obviously, the flashy pass or something like that, really. But I do think he's the one that I would say, for me at least, just keep an eye on him, because I think Liverpool would like a player like him for sure, as well. But again, let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments as well. But Marcus says, do you see Trent success in Madrid? Or succeed in Madrid, I should say. Yes and no, really. I think Trent will do good at Madrid. I do. Do I think he'll be adored as much as what he is at Liverpool? No. I think anything that derails Madrid from winning a La Liga or a Champions League, I think he'll be enemy number one, really. And I do believe that. I think, again, if he gets destroyed, for example, by, let's say like Lamine Yamal or Rafinha, for example, or even a Nico Williams if he's still at Bilbao in a year's time, I do think, again, he will get slaughtered, and I think he'll be the scapegoat really for Madrid, and it'll be their story. But I think, as everybody I think can agree on, I don't think Trent will ever play for Liverpool again, like ever. Like he could go to Madrid for the next 5 years and go, oh yeah, I want to come back to Liverpool. No, I just don't think that's going to be the case. His Liverpool journey will end. And then it's kind of then how does he conduct himself after he leaves Liverpool? For example, if he plays against Liverpool, how is he going to react? How is he going to fare himself as well? That's the type of questions I think I will be asking of Trent, of if they do get us in the Champions League, which I think will be highly likely. But I do think it's like that's the type of reactions I think I'd have towards him. As well, again, I have my opinions of Trent now. If the rumors are true, again, he's purposely run down his contract for the last 2 years, and he's had that thought process of running his contract down because Madrid have told him to. I'm sorry, like again, just an absolute rat. But again, that's just my opinion. But we will be linked with everybody and the dogs again. I'll believe any transfer we do when he signs, unless the shirt been let down so much at this point. Yeah, that's true. Like I think you look at what Zubimendi, Tchouaméni, the list is huge, isn't it? You could even go back to was it 2013, 2014? Like Conor Playanka, was that his name? But even him, Mo as well. To be fair, Mo rejected us. Didn't need to go to Chelsea back in the day. So look, at the end of the day, well, I say he rejected us. Liverpool just didn't act upon it, really, did they? But look, I do think it's a very interesting one. He's been taking Spanish lessons for a couple of years, and I don't know. Again, if he has done, then look, it all comes down to Jude Bellingham, doesn't it? Really, and look, he wants. Like the thing is, if he had gone in the, this is what people have kind of like debated about. If Trent had turned around and said, like, to Liverpool last year, like, look, I'm really thinking I'm want to go to Real Madrid. Like Liverpool, I think would have sold him, and then people would have been like, oh, well, we can't sell Trent, this, that, and the other. Like, sure we can. Like, if the right price is there, then we'll do a deal. But Liverpool have been led to believe that there's been optimism that we could have signed him, re-signed him. I think Melissa Reddy today said that Liverpool gave Trent a very lucrative deal. And that for me is something that I look at it and go, if we've offered him the world and he's still turned it down, I don't blame the club. And I've said this since the start. I personally don't blame the club for that. I blame the player because, all right, he may have wanted to go. If he is known for a very long time he wants to do something else, then that's down on him, really. Because you think about it, Liverpool, all right, we've put ourselves in this position, by the way, of letting him go for a free. And that you can blame on the club because, again, the poor man management at the top of the club, really, in terms of FSG, obviously the sporting director's a joke over the last couple of years, but that's on the club. But if Trent have known for a while he wants to leave, then it's down on Trent, really, because Liverpool could have focused their entire focus on Virgil van Dijk and Mo Salah instead of getting Trent re-signed. And that's poor on Trent, really, on how he's conducted himself, in my opinion, anyway. But I know that will cause obviously a lot of debate elsewhere. But Marcus says, will you guys feel slightly better if he leaves with like 70 or 80 on the table for Liverpool? It's never going to happen. Now, like Liverpool will get, I think Liverpool will get like 5-10 million in the summer. when that mini transfer window opens, of course, because of the Club World Cup. But yeah, we're not going to get any huge bids because he's going to leave on a free otherwise. But no, not me. I don't hold anything against him. Career is short, and he has every right to choose his own path, and that's fair enough. But I think the one thing I'd say to it is, again, the club could have known about that, really. But they were never going to pay the price for his dream move. Yeah, like Madrid's tactics, and I swear, Madrid are the only club in world football that could do that as well. Madrid are the only club that can tell Trent Alexander-Arnold and Kylian Mbappe to let your contracts run out and leave on a free. Like, that's the thing, and that's where I think now every club needs to look at it. Like, I think Arsenal with Saliba, for example, I think Saliba's out of contract in 2 years' time. Like, what's to say that he doesn't run his contract down and leave on a free in 2 years' time? Like, say if Arsenal don't win a Premier League again next year, and then the year after, then they're having the whole conversation of, oh, Saliba, could he go, or this, that, and the other. Same for us. Like, this summer is huge for Liverpool. You even look at Ibu Kanate. Like, Kanate, again, he's in the last 2 years of his contract. Like, or no, not even the last 2 years. Sorry, he's in the last year of his contract. So, is that the case of Liverpool? Liverpool might have to sell Ibu because, again, he might not sign a new deal because look at Trent. And of course, obviously, I think if Salah and Van Dijk stay, I think Ibu will stay. But again, that's a whole other debate for another time. I'd be slightly better for sure. Marcus says, what's your opinion on Isak since Arsenal will be very aggressive on him in the summer? If Newcastle get Champions League football, nobody's scaring him. He'll stay at Newcastle for sure. If they don't get Champions League, I think Liverpool are above Arsenal in the race for him, really. I don't think Arsenal can pay as much as what Liverpool would do in terms of transfer fee. I think, especially because Liverpool have Liverpool are most likely going to sell Darwin Núñez as well, which might fund a lot towards Isak. But again, that's all speculation. And of course, if Liverpool do get Isak, that would be an amazing signing. They who betrays will always be Orkalo as well. Yeah, absolutely. Can good tactics beat Galactico? Well, to be fair, you look at it, and every Galactico team that's been built has been battered by an individual at Barcelona. Ronaldinho did it, when the first version of the Galacticos was there. Messi then went on to do it, and now Lamine Yamal, what a talent he is, by the way. And look, he will go on to do it as well. I think Lamine Yamal will batter Madrid. Even this season, I think you look at the race at the minute for La Liga. Any slip up at the minute is huge because, again, you've got Atletico, you've got Real Madrid, you've got Barcelona as well. All of them. They've all had sticky patches this season. I think Barca's was in the middle of the season, Atletico's and Real's was really at the front of the season. But now, they're so close. I'll quickly check now. I think it's only 2 points. I think it is it between all the teams at the minute? So even still, when you look at it, it's very much a very, very close league as well at the minute. In the chat, let me have a look. Spain, Espanol. So what is it? It is 7. Well, it's now 7 points to be fair, but it's 3 points at the top of the league. So even still, that's you got to be on it, haven't you, really, in terms of the Prem. But in a decade's time, would your stance on Trent change at all, Con? Maybe, but again, that depends on what he does, after Madrid and what he does at Madrid as well. Anyway, but look, that is a conversation for another time, really, because again, that does just purely depend on what he does, because look, he could 100%, come back to Anfield, because I do think Liverpool and Madrid will play each other again. I'd be very surprised if Liverpool and Madrid didn't play again at some point next season. But even still, like I do think it will be a very interesting conversation anyway. But look, we'll have to wait and see, won't we? To be fair, anyway. But look, we will take a look anyway at another player that we're going to talk about anyway. Of course, that being Vinald's. Guevara Reed, I believe his name is. Again, apologies for any pronunciation mishaps that I do have. Anyway, but of course, he did get linked last week before the Trent news as well. 18-year-old Dutch international for Vinald. Of course, Arne Slot did give him his debut with Vinald last season as well. But since then, he's made 27 appearances, got 1 goal and 7 assists in the Dutch league as well, which is very good going, to be fair, as it does have a market value of £12 million. And even still, when we do compare him to Trent as well, and do compare him to, again, that type of player, we quickly get back up the Data MB website for you guys. You guys can see, but there is. So again, obviously Trent is still in the red, Guevara Reed is in the green. And when you look at it, it's pretty good going, to be fair. Again, carries a lot more than Trent. Again, aerial duels up on Trent, duel percentage up on Trent as well. But again, defensive actions lower down, progressive passes obviously way down, just short of him for expected assist as well, which is not too bad. And obviously crosses as well, just slightly higher than him as well. But even still, the minutes as well, comparing to it, Aussie Trent's nearly played just below 1,000 more than him, really. But again, an 18-year-old kid who, again, when you look at it, again, like we talked about Martin Fernandez, another kid that, again, Arne Slot will know very, very well, of course. Brought him into the Vinald team last season, give him his debut at fullback, really. And that's something, again, when you look at it and go, that could potentially be an option for Liverpool. Like I said, in terms of being somebody that can be the backup to Trent, not to Trent, sorry, to Conor Bradley. That's someone who, for sure, again, we could see be a backup for Conor Bradley, really. And I think, again, I think we will be talking about that price range, really. We're not going to be talking about Liverpool spending, unless they're going to go down the different route where, again, Conor Bradley's going to be the backup, and Liverpool are going to go and sign, a right back for 30-40 million pounds, which, again, I don't see us doing. But again, Liverpool, I think we're going to be looking around that 10 to maybe 15 million pound mark, and seeing what is out there, really. Because, again, I think one thing to consider as well, I don't think Liverpool really anticipated looking for a right back this summer. I think they thought we'd end up signing Trent back up. But I do think it is this type of player that Liverpool will be looking at. Somebody who's young, can learn from Conor Bradley. I think they believe it very much in Conor Bradley that he will be the guy. And again, Guevara Reed, or whether or not it would be Martin Fernandez as well. I think, again, them two players, again, does screen somebody who, again, can come in, learn for a year or so, and then, of course, could even progress into Liverpool's, full-time right back, really, as well. But let me know your guys' thoughts, because, again, obviously another Dutch international. I believe we got linked to him last week, like I said, so it could definitely change as well. But yes, Connor's well, big up Patrice, well, hope he's doing well. That's a conversation for a longer beard. Yeah, absolutely. To be fair, but look, we'll have to wait and see. To be fair, but speaking on, again, onto the last type of player, really, I did want to speak upon, and kind of looking at the different scale of it. When everyone we've spoken about, really, even though I did, talk about Frimpong, other players that we have spoke about in terms of, again, Martin Fernandez or Guevara Reed, one player that you'd have to break the bank for is Tino Livramento, and it would be, and he's the only guy for me that Liverpool could, if you want to go and break the bank on a right back, you're probably looking at him. Again, plenty of experience. Obviously, Newcastle don't want to sell him realistically, do they? But that's the kind of ballpark that you're looking at. Like, again, when you look at the top market value for fullbacks, again, his market value is, again, I think he's in the top 10 for market values. But even still, you've got him. Hakimi's probably the other one when you look at it and go, yeah, again, that Liverpool would have to, at least break the bank to even have a conversation, to be fair. But it's that sense of, again, I don't think Liverpool could get Livramento, even if we did bid like something like 40 million, 50 million for him, really. But again, somebody who defensive numbers isn't too great when you look at it, not defensive numbers, attacking numbers, I should say. Very much more of a defensive fullback, I would say. Of course, even looking at it now, and I'll quickly get it for you guys on the screen right now, but he does seem very much a more defensive fullback than an out and out attacking one, similar to like how you could even compare him to Conor Bradley, to be fair. Right? Conor Bradley's got more of an attacking note to him, to be fair, and we will quickly show you guys right now. So this is, of course, Livramento's statistics for this season. You guys can see on screen right now. Of course, attacking wise, like I said, not the best. Of course, he is on 0 goals and 0 assists this season, and of course, he's in the negative 4% aisle in terms of, again, attacking output. But again, in terms of dribbling stats, he's very high upon, and even defensive stats as well. He's very, got very good stats in that sense. And even still, when we look at it per 90s, again, even progressive carries, progressive passes, he's over 5 per game as well, which, of course, obviously you look at Alexander Isak. Of course, he's probably putting the balls in behind for him. But even when you compare him to Conor Bradley, as we can do on screen right now, again, when you look at it, Conor Bradley, obviously attacking wise, is very much, again, the better fullback. But again, when you look at the overall senses in terms of, again, passes, completion, and obviously take-ons and so on, and even the defensive numbers, again, they're not too far away from each other. I know obviously Conor Bradley's a bit higher in that regard, but still, it's very much the sense of, a fullback that's probably progressing. To be fair, again, I think Livramento is around 22 years of age, could, work for Liverpool. But I do think, again, Liverpool are going to be probably looking for a younger fullback. But just to, shout the name out there, again, Livramento is an option potentially for Liverpool. But again, I think you'd have to pay crazy money to get him out of Newcastle for sure. But I'm not a fan of Livramento as well. Looking at it, to be fair, I don't think Liverpool will go for him, but it's just a name that really, when you look at the market, it's just a name really to shout out upon, because, again, it'd have to take a crazy bid to get him out. Similar with, I could put Hakimi, for example, who, again, same age to Trent, but also the fact that Liverpool, you're probably looking at, 80, 90 million, even 100 million, really, to even get him out to PSG, or even have a conversation with PSG around Hakimi as well. So, look, I don't think, that would ever happen, to be fair, but, everybody can dream, to be fair. But she says, I think slot favours Bradley over Trent anyway. We will miss his passing ability. Yeah, 100%. Is FB the lowest tier player on the pitch? What do you mean? No, fullback. No, fullback is just FB is just fullback. To be fair, we can even compare goalkeepers on this list if we wanted to. Really, like I could compare Alisson and Mamardashvili right now if I wanted to. That's the good thing about Data MB, not Data MB. FB Ref, I should say. But no, fullback is FB is just fullback. To be fair, but to be fair as well, I would also say it only compares top 6 leagues, because, again, we could compare Championship players, but it also then compares to like the second tier of other teams. So it's like the Portuguese league, for example, isn't a top 6 league. I don't think it's a top 6 league anyway. I could be wrong with that, or a top 5 league. So again, it doesn't really consider from it out. Like again, for example, we could compare Gyökeres, for example, with Darwin Núñez. And of course, he'd have better statistics, but again, you have to take it into comparison as well. So it does, differ a little bit anyway. But it is going to be an interesting one anyway, in terms of who can replace Trent. For me personally, I think Liverpool will promote Conor Bradley. I think he will be the number one right back for Liverpool next season. And I would say keep an eye on him. For me, I would say Martin Fernandes. For Liverpool, we've seen how, again, Julian Ward's, is back at the club. We've seen how well he's done with Portuguese moves, really. He was a big factor in Luis Diaz moving, big factor in Darwin Núñez coming to the club as well. So Liverpool have done deals like that before. Of course, depending on your opinion, that might be a bad thing, to be fair. But still, I think keep an eye on Martin Fernandes because, again, cheap deal, really, for Liverpool to do. Maybe you're looking around, 10, maybe 15 million. But again, that's somebody who I think Liverpool would be looking to get this summer. I don't think it's, Liverpool are going to go and splash the cash, maybe in comparison to like the left back spot, where again we're most likely going to go and splash the cash on like a Kirkes, for example, which I think we need to. To be fair, I think that's been the aim for the summer. To be fair, I think has been the left back spot in getting that sorted. But I do think as well, when you look at the right back market, it is a very, very scary market. When you look at it, it's not really great. And I think, again, when we talk about like looking at the numbers and so on, I think that's something as well that Liverpool will be looking at, is looking at the numbers and going, like, again, we can maybe have this person and maybe promote them as well. But again, that will be something very interesting as well to see over the next couple of weeks, of course, in terms of links as well. But seems the problem with Bradley. Yeah, it does, to be fair, which is such a shame. Run and he could be amazing. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think now, to be fair, I think this run into the season now, I think Conor Bradley, if he's fit, will be given now an opportunity to start every game. I don't think now it's because now when you look at it, I don't think Trent's going to be fit for the end of the season. But I said I'm not looking forward to this summer window. Our owners are getting found out. I'd say I have a little bit of optimism. That's all I would say, really. Do you rate Joel Hatto? The potential, yes. What we saw of him the other night, no. Like, it was bad, wasn't it, the other night, to be fair. But again, look, he is, 19? Like, around that. Like, probably a bit older as well. Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting one. But I think if Liverpool didn't have so many other options or other problems, to be fair, in the summer, like, again, our forward line needs addressing, defensive positions need sorting out, in terms of another centre back, a left back. Realistically, we need every position really, apart from goalkeeper. We need a midfielder, we need a right back now, we need a left back, we need centre back, a striker, like an out-and-out striker. We might end up keeping Luis Diaz and Cody, really. I think Cody is going to stay anyway. But I think in terms of the left wing spot, we might end up keeping Lucho and Gakpo because, again, we've got so many other things to do. But it's going to be a hectic summer for sure. But okay, so how much would you say our owners should spend this summer? 300. I've said that. I think Liverpool's net spend will be about 90 million. We'll spend about 300 million this summer, and I think we'll generate about 210, 220, somewhere around there. Because look, Darwin Núñez is going to go. Maybe Luis Diaz. You've then got Costas, you've got Kelleher, you've got maybe Endo's going to go. There's a whole list of it, isn't it, really? But he's 19, can play left back and left-sided centre back. Yeah, for sure. I like Joel Hatto. Of course, if you play Football Manager as well, you'd also like Joel Hatto. But yeah, of course, there's definitely, it's definitely going to be a busy summer for sure. Anyway, but look, we're going to leave it there for tonight, guys. Big thank you for everyone for tuning in to tonight's show. Of course, like tomorrow in the morning, there will be clips of James Pierce's show. Apologies, there was none this morning. But of course, I was very, very busy this morning, so I could not do it. But no, we're going to sort it out now as well. But FSG spending 300 million in one transfer window. I feel like they have to, really. If they don't, then that's a real problem. I just hope the good players are available when we got the money and the space for them. Yeah, but the one thing I will say though to this as well, Liverpool will spend 300 million this summer, or again, could spend 300 million. But then don't be surprised then if we don't spend anything in the January or have then £100 million window then in the next summer window. Like, again, we'll only then like top up positions, because realistically, when you're spending £300 million, you would then think, okay, the squad's good enough then to be capable enough for a season and a half, really, where again, maybe you might have to address a midfield problem, or again, you only got to spend like 30, 40, 50 million on a certain player. Really. But again, Liverpool will have a big window this summer, and there'll be plenty of outgoings, which will cause a lot of transfers happening. As I just spat all over my bloody monitor as well. But again, we'll have to wait and see, of course, anyway. But look, tomorrow, like I said, there'll be a news episode tomorrow. If not, there'll be another video. But again, like I said, James Pierce mini episodes will be out from tomorrow onwards. Probably tomorrow, Sunday, and Monday there'll be clips coming out anyway. So make sure you are staying tuned to the channel anyway. But look, hopefully you guys have a fantastic rest of your Fridays anyway. And like I said, hopefully we'll find out a bit more news in the next coming days and weeks anyway. But look, I've been Connor from the Cop Council. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Ta-ra.